Okay, what kinds of things can you do? Well, I'll give you a few examples of things I've done that other people have done. Here's one that you may have heard of. Last spring, there was a movie that came out called Expelled, which was an awful little movie. It's out on DVD now, I hear, although I have not seen it myself yet, even though I'm in it. Okay, I was roped into this under false pretenses, as were several other people like Richard Dawkins and Eugenie Scott. Barbara Forrest, who I mentioned earlier, they went to her first. And she turned them down because she did this background research and discovered that this was a company that did not exist, that was just being cobbled together in order to make this documentary. And she turned them down. Unfortunately, since she was first, they figured out that that was a problem, so they put together a fake website so that when all of us other clever people got the invitation and we went searching on Google, there they were they had like 20 films to their name, none of which exist or ever will exist. But there they are. Anyway, so they fooled us. They got us into this. This is a movie that makes the premise that creationists are expelled from academia. And I have to agree with them, it's true. We do, just like we don't allow flat earthers in geology departments, we have standards of competence, which is why we don't find creationists there. Although they were arguing that it's an act of conspiracy that we don't like them because some of them are religious. But anyway, I don't know why they didn't try and get Ken Miller for an interview on this. He would have been really good. So anyway, I'm in the movie. I have seen the short clip of me in the movie, and it's me trying to say what I think religion ought to be like. And I briefly make the case. I say, okay, here's what I would like for the future. I would like religion to be like knitting. Okay, nobody hates knitters, right? Knitters are good people. But we don't think that because you're a knitter that you can be president of the United States. You have to have other qualifications. And so I'm just making this case that, knitting is, religion ought to be like knitting, where it's something we can see as a productive hobby, something that people can do whenever they feel like, and they're not going to be censored for it. But seriously, it's a hobby, right? Yeah, fine. And apparently when this movie was shown, my daughter saw it, my wife saw it, my mother saw it last week on DVD. I'm the sole holdout. Apparently when my little clip came on, there were gasps of horror from the audience. I thought I was being so nice. And they were just shocked. That apparently that you cannot argue even that religion has an appropriate place in the culture, which is not a dominant place. That's unforgivable. I also got lots of email after the movie came out. There was the usual creationist crank email, but I was very surprised. There was another cohort that wrote to me frequently, and they were very upset with me, and those were the knitters of the world. They were greatly offended that I had made this odious comparison with religion. They thought, well, knitting is so much better, and I agree. I'm all for knitting, okay. Forgive me. So anyway, I've got a new analogy that I've been throwing around, and I want this to spread around, and that what we need to compare religion to as something it will become, okay, what religion ought to be, is not like knitting. Religion ought to be like masturbation. And I think this is a really good analogy because it puts religion in its proper place. That if you think about both of them, and you think about the arguments people make for them, number one is this one. It feels good, right? It's true for both of them. I don't deny the fact that many people go to church and it makes them feel good to sit there and hear the sermons and the songs and go through the rituals. And, well, we don't have to give the details about masturbation, but it feels good. So this is good. It's also kind of universal. This is another argument I hear for religion all the time, is that everybody is religious, therefore it's a good thing. That's not a very good logical argument, but okay, it's true. There are lots and lots of people who are religious, but I would say that there's even more that masturbate. Okay, this is even more universal, so that obviously this must be a virtue as well. So there's another point of similarity. But at the same time, lots of people do it. We have this agreement that you don't do it in public. This is a fine thing for you to go home and do in the privacy of your own home. And again, we're not going to, maybe some religious people, but most rational people would not try to jail somebody for masturbating quietly in the privacy of their home. Sure. And same thing with religion. Sure, let's go to your church, okay? You don't need to have it in the public square. It makes you look very silly, and it's a little bit of an embarrassing position to be in, so they're very similar in that way. And then finally, the big one, I think, is that enthusiasm for the practice is not qualification for high office. Seriously, it puts Sarah Palin in a whole new light when you think of this way. Okay, so this is kind of my goal now. This is where I want religion to be, and again, this is not saying that religion is evil, right? I'm a liberal. I have no problem with masturbation, in the proper context, okay, and I'm not going to damn people for it. And I'm not going to damn people for religion as well, but I think there again is a proper context for it. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to have more and more people come out of the closet, okay? Go ahead and be assertive about your religious beliefs. Notice this shirt.
All right.
Yeah. I actually had somebody come up to me and try to talk baseball to me in the airport the other day, and I had to say, well, look a little closer. Not Oakland Athletics. This is, anyway. Yeah, do little things like that, and it can be subtle. Just have the little red A pin that Richard Dawkins sells, or something, or just don't be bashful when the family gets together and they want to say grace. Don't say grace. It's not that hard. Just sit there quietly and respectfully, and don't get bogged down in their religious traditions. And then maybe they'll ask you, "What are you doing? Why aren't you praying?" And then you can have a good discussion. And this is something Yes, I know. There is this tradition in the United States, and I'm sure all around the world, that at the dinner table you don't talk about politics or religion because it's sure to generate lots of arguments. And I'm telling everybody, forget that tradition. I've been telling people that when they go home for Thanksgiving dinner or for Christmas dinner, have that discussion with Uncle Ralph. It will liven up the dinner table. It will make your views known. And I also tell them, do this politely. This doesn't mean punch Uncle Ralph in the nose because he's a hardline fundamentalist. It means have a respectful discussion with him. And then there's always the usual arguments about this. Well, my grandmother, she's old and she's delicate and she'd be horrified at this. And my answer is always, well, your grandmother also loves you, we hope, and she'll get over it. What she'll learn is that somebody she loves also doesn't believe in God. That's a good lesson for her to learn. And I don't care how old you are, you can always learn. So teach Grandma something. Teach Uncle Ralph something. It's all a good thing. So I've been urging people to do this, and I've gotten a few stories from last Thanksgiving, which are always good to hear. But yeah, that in general, the people who have tried this have found that it's generally a positive thing. That means you're doing something other than watching football. You're talking about something substantial, and that's good. And as far as I know, nobody has been disowned thanks to my advice, but we'll see.